It is early evening here at Grand Canyon National Park. Fading daylight stretches across the vast landscape, from the towering columns of stone to the deep, winding valleys below. Here at Havasupai Gardens, along the Bright Angel Trail, the air feels cooler, with clusters of cottonwood trees providing much-needed shade for the local wildlife. A narrow stream of water snakes through the dry landscape, tumbling over a bed of smooth and shiny stones. Tall reeds of grass sway in the gentle wind. Canyon tree frogs croak eagerly as they emerge to greet the approaching night. So, as we settle in for tonight's journey, let's begin our evening with a short wind-down exercise. Tonight's wind-down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind, and once you've learned it, you can even use it if you wake up during the night. We're going to be counting our breaths, and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We're not trying to change them. We're simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, and ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it. That, in turn, creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, the perfect conditions for gentle, restful sleep. So, to begin, just take a moment or two to get comfortable. Make sure you're nice and cool. Just starting with some big, deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next out breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose, and feeling the weight of the body pressing you down into your bed. And in your own time, starting to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall, just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it, thinking, and return to the breath. Or if a feeling arises, note it as feeling and return to the breath. Noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, just gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and noting any thoughts and feelings that arise. That's great. Taupe, tan, and golden hues lay atop each other in bold, distinct bands. Some layers are thin and crisp, others thick and undulating, like the surface of the rapids that rush through the canyon below. The widest ribbon of formerly blue-gray limestone has been stained a deep red by the iron oxide from the layers above. The skyline is flat and nearly featureless, in stark contrast to the immensity of what lies below. Everything here is ancient, nearly beyond comprehension. Presently, this great chasm is a testament to time itself, carved by countless years of erosion, water, and wind. The mountain peaks that once ascended above the plateau are now a thing of the past. Their crests were carried far beyond Arizona as the waters receded for the last documented time. Now, sitting high above sea level, the mighty Colorado River reels and rolls with assuredness, carving ever deeper and wider into the valley floor. The north and south canyon rims are carpeted in a distinct light gray layer of kaibab limestone and peppered with irregular blobs of chert protruding from the rock around it. And much like the shore, embedded here and there are the remnants of marine life. The southern Paiute people call this area kaibab, meaning mountain lying down, as if it laid to rest after a long day under the desert sun. Dotting what was once a shallow seabed in the Kaibab Formation are fragments of fossilized corals, sponges, and seashells. Nestled near the edge of the crest, under the dappled shade of a ponderosa pine, lies a small clamshell. Its finely pleated lines radiate outward like delicate origami, and the edges are chipped but softly rounded by the elements. A cool wind blows through the branches of the ponderosa, and meanders south to a clearing where a single juniper is deeply rooted. Wedged between the clefts of smooth rock, it stands like the guardian of an unparalleled view. Its grooved trunk bends and twists, and its bright green needles quiver in the breeze. The small violet berries are clustered tightly on every branch among the fragrant needles. A favorite of the mule deer, who can be seen craning their necks to gently pluck the fruit. Shortly beyond the pines on the south rim lies an open field dotted with rabbit brush. Broom-like, some stand only a few feet tall, while others stretch twice as high. Their slender leaves are long and feathery soft. They pack together in dense patches closest to the road, where splashes of melted snow quench their thirst. Plentiful also is the big sagebrush, with its velvety leaves and pungent aroma. Dusted with the last soft snow of the winter, the silvery leaves shine more green in the sunlight. The native peoples of the Grand Canyon ritually collect the leaves to this day, binding them together so that when dry, they can be lit on fire to produce a perfumed and cleansing smoke. Nearly hidden under the great network of these shrubs hides a bushy-eared and even bushier-tailed squirrel. It clutches between its delicate fingers a small pine cone. It diligently turns and chews, scattering about it amber scales on the white snow. The soft flight of a raven above startles the squirrel for a moment as it pauses to observe, waiting until it passes beyond the cliff's edge to move again. Descending just below the coniferous forests and plateau of the Kaibab is the tree-covered toroweep. Darker than the limestone above and the coconino sandstone below, the softer gypsum and shale of the toroweep has eroded more readily than its limestone to form a sloping connection between the two formations. The variation of flora and fauna as one descends from the rim to the river is vast as the air gets warmer and warmer below. Smaller pinyon and juniper trees mingle with an abundance of herbs, shrubs, and grasses. Pinyon jays feast heavily on the pine nuts and store them underground to repopulate the canyon with fresh saplings. All living things here are connected, as the indigenous tribes have always understood. Even the decaying tree continues to provide by sheltering small creatures and eventually returning to soil. The rocks that tumble down the valley help reshape the landscape during their journey from canyon wall to silt. Despite the harsh conditions in this semi-arid landscape, a rich tapestry of life flourishes. Revealed in the multitude of layers in the Grand Canyon is the story of what has managed to survive the millennia versus what has given way to time. The past is a living thing made visible here, overflowing with the intimacy of small discoveries. The canyon wears many moods. It is altered by the quality of light and the quantity of clouds at any given time. An azure sky can be swiftly veiled by gossamer clouds sweeping overhead, or snuffed out altogether as storm clouds thunder in. At times, a soft fog can be seen rolling over the plateau and pouring into the canyon in slow-moving but hypnotic sheets. They flow over and around the curves of the bluff's edge and outstanding boulders, streaming through deep cracks and crevices like a river of haze. The dance of light on a rock wall sets all the colors aglow, while elsewhere it casts deep shadows that further obscure. As the hours and minutes pass, they usher in changes so dramatic at times that each step, each turn, each descent feels as if one is entering a new land. One must observe in detail all of the elements to gain an appreciation for the profound immensity carried within, as there is no way to behold all of the canyon in its entirety. Visitors are granted glimpses of grandeur that always beg further exploration. Tranquil scenes are never too far from spaces radiating with commotion. The still waters along a stretch of quiet shore are animated when a visiting skein of ducks set down on its surface, sending ripples throughout. The drakes dive headlong into the clear river and emerge with their onyx feathers peppered with beads of water. In striking contrast to the neighboring desert, the inner gorge contains a multitude of springs, tributaries, and seeps that meander from and towards the Colorado River. Erupting in the wake of the waters is a luxurious growth of vegetation. Coyote and seep willows thrive beside a babbling creek and provide shelter for a pair of southwestern willow flycatchers. Tamarisk trees, once brought in to help with erosion, now overtake the riverbanks in dense stands. From a distance, their long, slender branches, with their slim leaves, look like the full plumes of an ostrich. When water is scarce, the leaves drop to reveal the network of fine, reddish-brown branches. Further along the river's path, in Deer Creek, rises a redbud tree, rooted on a border of pebbles, arching above a modest blanket of maidenhair ferns. The deeply chiseled walls of the creek snake around this little island of greenery. The mass of their bright emerald leaves delicately swaying on the waft of cool air the rushing water sends their way. Approaching the falls, the abundance of flora grows. Bursting on the edges of the water and clinging to the wetted surface are large swatches of moss and lichens in shades of jade, chartreuse, and sage. They spread across the water-smooth mouth of the falls as it cascades 174 feet into the shallow pool below, releasing a cloud of mist that hangs over the surface. The river forms both barriers and corridors, allowing some creatures to travel through its warm and verdant passageways, while isolating others to one side or the other. Running a mile below the plateau's lip is the heart and maker of the canyon, the river. Traversing the Colorado, one can see the canyon from the seat of time. Soaring upwards from this vantage point are the precipitous and sloped rock walls that wind and wend through history from time primeval. A glassy and calm stretch of the river only needs to travel around a bend to roar itself into rapids. Groups of adventure seekers barrel downstream on rafts, canoes, and kayaks, with their paddles and oars carving into the water. River runners brace themselves through white-capped waves. The bow of a large inflatable raft bobs into the surge and sends up a wall of water that soaks all of the riders. Physically worn, but ecstatic from the experience, they arrive on shore to make camp and rest. A level patch in one of the many caves and overhangs carved away by the waters makes for a peaceful refuge. When the sun passes well beyond the bounds of the canyon and sets on the horizon, evening will settle in. A sacred datura plant, with its spiral petals tightly cinched, waits for the moon to reveal itself. The chatter of songbirds will dissipate as dusk drops its curtain, and a spotted owl lingers high on a ledge, patient for its turn to call out into the canyon air.